if you are not commander of the army before me continually in place of Joab. So he swayed the hearts of all the men of Judah, just as the heart of one man, so that they sent this word to the king, return you and all your servants. We'll conclude our reading at this point, the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 19, verse 14. You've been listening to a serialized reading of the Bible, the New King James Version, with episodes presented each morning at 8:15 on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Your reader has been Barbara. Thank you for listening.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Willard Evans, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the May 21st, 2026 issue of the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Leading off, we have the Voices column written by Betty Jean Grant. 514 seems to be more celebratory than remembrance. Mark Talley lost his mother in the 2022 Tops Market massacre. When he or any of the relatives of those who were slain speaks about anything regarding the massacre, I listen. I believe that they, more than anyone else, have a special place and an unobstructed insight about how we, as a community, can best support them and their families as we all move forward toward the federal trial that will determine how justice will treat that racist, hate-filled murderer of 10 of our much-beloved citizens. After reading Mr. Talley's op-ed in last week's newspapers, and lately seeing and reading his extremely long manuscript on these FB pages, this writer believes that she and he share many of the same sentiments that the day of May 14th is fast becoming a hot dog and hamburger eating event, where more energy is spent on socializing and finding out who did what to whom than actually talking to and finding out how the survivors are coping. Mark Talley seems to believe, as do I, that there is too much time focusing on passing out outdated fruits and vegetables, while little time is devoted to engaging the shooting survivors and the family members of the 10 victims who were so cruelly killed. A few days ago, I attended a community meeting at the Meriwether Library that was hosted by Ms. Dominique Calhoun, a bright young woman who is asking questions and holding people accountable regarding how the 514 funds that were donated were spent and what methods were used to determine who got what and how much. In one of the seats in the Frank E. Meriwether Library sat the young mother who put her child in the freezer as the guy started shooting to keep her from getting shot. While talking about her daughter and her ordeal, she broke down crying. I am not aware of what level of crisis intervention or grief counseling therapy, if any, she might have received, but it was clearly evident in her case that more assistance was needed. The community leaders and politicians need to get hold of Mark Talley's writings. His opinion/position regarding people may be using the tragedy for personal reasons or political opportunities is how many persons, including this writer, feel about how these somber gatherings are becoming more circus-like. Mr. Talley is not the only one who lost a loved one at the supermarket to feel this way. Finally, I will never forget the fact that several years ago, during the remembrance ceremony, the event planners forgot to save space under the tent for many of the relatives. There were reserved seatings for the pastors and the politicians, but alas, the families of those who were taken so viciously from us had to fend for themselves. Moving on now to the Black History column, the overlooked Black history of Memorial Day. Memorial Day honors veterans of all wars, but its roots are in America's deadliest conflict, the Civil War. Approximately 620,000 soldiers died, about 2/3 from disease. The work of honoring the dead began right away all over the country, and several American towns claim to be the birthplace of Memorial Day. But historians like the Pulitzer Prize winner David Blight have tried to raise awareness of freed slaves who decorated soldiers' graves a year earlier to make sure their story gets told too. According to Blight's 2001 book, Race and Reunion, The Civil War in American Memory, a commemoration organized by free slaves and some white missionaries took place on May 1st, 1865, in Charleston, South Carolina, at a former planters' racetrack where Confederates held captured Union soldiers during the last year of the war. At least 250 prisoners died, many of disease, and were buried in unmarked graves, so black residents of Charleston decided to give them a proper burial. In the approximately 10 days leading up to the event, roughly 24 African-American Charlestonians recognized the graves into rows and built a 10-foot-tall white fence around them. An archway overhead spelled out "Martyrs of the Race Course" in black letters. About 10,000 people, mostly black residents, participated in the May 1st tribute, according to coverage back then in the Charleston Daily Courier and the New York Tribune. Starting at 9 a.m., about 3,000 black school children paraded around the racetrack, holding roses and singing the Union song, "John Brown's Body," and were followed by adults representing aid societies for freed black men and women. Black pastors delivered sermons and led attendees in prayer and in the singing of spirituals, and there were picnics. James Redpath, the white doctor of freedmen's education in the region, organized about 30 speeches by Union officers, missionaries, and black ministers. Participants sang patriotic songs like "America" and "We'll Rally Around the Flag" and the Star-Spangled Banner. In the afternoon, 3 white and black Union regiments marched around the graves and staged a drill. The New York Tribune described the tribute as a procession of friends and mourners as South Carolina and the United States never saw before. The grave sites looked like a one-man mass of flowers, and the breeze wafted the sweet perfumes from them, and tears of joy were shed. This tribute gave birth to an American tradition, Blight wrote in Race and Reunion. The war was over, and Memorial Day had been founded by African Americans in a ritual of remembrance and consecration. Moving to our next article now, Build of Buffalo 514 Event, a message of hope during a solemn time of remembrance, by Justice Craig D. Hanna. Never forget. Those words carry weight. They are more than a slogan. They are a promise, a commitment that tragedy will not erase memory, a vow that hate will not have the final word. We say never forget because remembrance is resistance. We remember so that the names, lives, and stories of those we lost are never reduced to headlines or statistics. We remember because the pain of May 14th did not end when the cameras left. It still echoes through our neighborhoods, our churches, our homes, and our hearts. And so today we gather not simply to mourn, but to bear witness. Before I go any further, let me say thank you. Thank you to Build of Buffalo. Thank you to Elam Christian Fellowship. And most importantly, I thank God. There is nothing wrong with praising God in difficult times. In fact, sometimes praise is what carries us through difficult times. Many of us would not be standing here today if it were not for the prayers of our ancestors. As Maya Angelou wrote, "Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the hope and the dream of the slave." That truth matters. The hate is real. What happened on May 14th was not random. It was fueled by hatred, fueled by division, fueled by the dangerous lie that some people matter more than others. and we must be honest enough to confront that reality. The hate is real. We see it in racism. We see it in anti-Semitism. We see it in Islamophobia. We see it in attacks on immigrants, on marginalized communities, and on the vulnerable. But hate also grows where hopelessness grows. Communities suffering from poverty, disinvestment, unemployment, violence, and isolation become fertile ground for anger and radicalization. We cannot discuss healing without discussing conditions. When good-paying jobs disappeared from cities like Buffalo, when factories closed, when neighborhoods were abandoned, too many people were left without opportunity, without hope, and without support. And when society fails people, division becomes easier to spread. Instead of building bridges, people are taught to blame one another. Black versus white, poor versus poor, neighbor versus neighbor. But the truth is, we are far more alike than we are different. And when we spend all our time fighting one another, the real problems remain untouched. The solution? So, what do? We teach truth. We teach history. We teach humanity. Black history is American history. The story of this nation cannot be told without the contributions of Black Americans, inventors, educators, soldiers, artists, scientists, activists, athletes, entrepreneurs, and everyday working families who built this country while fighting to be treated equally within it. We must teach our children pride, purpose, and possibility. We must invest in education, invest in mentorship, invest in jobs, invest in mental health, invest in community, and we must stay awake. Not woke as a political slogan, but awake in spirit, awake in conscience, awake to injustice, and awake to the responsibility we have toward one another. Because too much has been sacrificed for us to become indifferent now. As Shirley Chisholm once reminded us, service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. So let us serve. Serve our communities, serve our families, serve our young people, serve each other. And let us stop hating one another. Our diversity is not a weakness, it is our strength. Different backgrounds, different cultures, different faiths, different stories. Like pieces in a mosaic, our differences create something beautiful when joined together. As we close today, let us remember this. The victims of May 14th were mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, neighbors, friends, and pillars of this community. Their lives mattered. Their stories mattered. And their memories matter. We honor them not only with our words, but with action. We honor them when we reject hatred. We honor them when we protect one another. We honor them when we speak truth. We honor them when we build a community where every child feels valued and every family feels safe. And even in sorrow, we must not lose hope, because hate may wound a community, but love, faith, and unity can rebuild one. So let us leave here today committed to being peacemakers, committed to justice, committed to service, committed to remembrance. Turning to our next article, can Richard Walls get a fair trial? Community support continues to grow. On June 1st, jury selection is scheduled to begin in the trial of Richard Walls, a Cheektowaga man who is facing a murder charge following a shooting near his home during a parking dispute in October of 2024. He was indicted in March of this year, and on June 2nd, his jury trial is expected to begin. If convicted, Walls, 44, a homeowner, father, and well-respected by his neighbors and co-workers, faces a maximum sentence of 25 years to life. Since the grand jury indictment, support for Mr. Walls has continued to grow. And although no one is condoning the loss of the life of the young 20-year-old Bengalis victim, those who know Richard Walls, young and old, and even mere acquaintances, say they believe there is more to the story than has been portrayed in the media. The DA's office, in announcing the indictment, told a local TV station a self-defense claim by Walls was rejected and that there was evidence that Richard initiated the dispute. I don't know all the facts, but I believe Richard Walls' case isn't fully being told, said one supporter on social media. Richard is a very nice and courteous gentleman. I've known him for years and never even heard of him getting into an argument. Something isn't right, and Richard needs our support. A few weeks ago on the Chocolate Goddess Talk Show on WUFO Radio, the program's host dedicated a portion of her hour to Walls' case and pending trial, with supporters calling on the community to come to county court at 25 Delaware on June 2nd to show support. One group, which called themselves the Conscious State Collective, said they are working in concert with the Stronger Together movement to make sure the community supports Walls. He said there have already been a few fundraisers held to help him out financially, but more is needed. He's fighting for his life, said a representative of the group. He deserves a fair trial. The posts on social media echo a familiar refrain for the former mentor for at-risk teens. Another supporter said he believed the shooting had to be in self-defense and that Richard had to believe his life was in danger to even think about pulling the gun, which he is licensed to carry. I've known Richard well over 20 years. He's always been a cool, laid-back guy. I never saw him upset, let alone him killing someone for nothing, posted another longtime acquaintance. This is BS. It's terrible and unfortunate that a person lost their life, posted another. I pray and support Richard in any way possible. He's just a low-key good person. The full story is not being told, still another commented. He definitely needs support and the community to rally around him, and also a good lawyer that's going to get the facts and fight for him. I'm praying for him. Monica Lynch, a community activist, has been conducting a personal protest in support of Walls for the past few months by appearing in front of 25 Delaware on Monday mornings bearing a sign calling for justice. To make a donation, go to www.givesandgo.com. Please click on the magnifying glass, then the arrow. Then click on his picture to make your donation. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And here is that letter now, written by Monica Lynch. Dear Editor, why we must support Richard Walls. I am out here rallying for Richard Walls because he is us. He is a young, middle-aged black man who is fighting each day of his life for existence. He is trying to build a life that this children can benefit from, working for decades to maintain a home he purchased. Richard had a legal gun in his possession because he had the right to carry. Does that give him a legal stand to protect himself? A bullet can kill someone in a matter of seconds. When you approach anyone, you have no idea what they may have on their person. However, if you leave a scene and come back with others after we have argued, I can only believe that you're back for a physical confrontation. Don't blame me for defending myself. Blame your own actions for returning to the scene and allowing me to fear for my life. We don't wish death on anyone, but when faced with a quick decision of your life or mine, I will pick mine 100% of the time. I believe this was an unfortunate, justified homicide. Please support Mr. Walls during his trial. He should not even be in this position, but his life does matter, just like mine/ours. Moving on now. Chief Shields officially takes office, names Jones and Lloyd to new leadership team. Shortly after she was officially sworn in May 4th, Buffalo Police Commissioner Erica Shields unveiled her new leadership team, appointing Deputy Commissioner Thelma Jones and Chief Andre Lloyd Sr. to key positions. First Deputy Commissioner W. Craig Macy was also sworn in on May 4th. Macy had been serving as interim police commissioner until Shields' appointment. Jones has been Buffalo Police Chief since 2021, serving in the B and mostly recently C districts, where she supported many community programs, including free music lessons and providing direct access for residents. She also worked as Internal Affairs Division Lieutenant and a Patrol Lieutenant. Chief Andre M. Lloyd Sr. was appointed to replace Chief Jones in the C District. A more than 17-year veteran with the Buffalo Police Department, he has served in several positions including Patrol Officer, Community Police Officer, Patrol Supervisor, Youth Mentor, and most recently as an investigator within the Internal Affairs Division. He also spent 25 years in the U.S. Army Reserves, retiring as a lieutenant colonel. It was announced earlier this week that the police department and Mayor Ryan's administration would be working this summer to recruit more officers. And from the Inside Rochester column now, Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York brings annual session and community programs to Rochester. Historic Masonic organization holds youth initiative and community workshops alongside its 180th annual Grand Lodge session. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge, free and accepted Masons, State of New York, and jurisdiction, will convene its 180th annual Grand Lodge session in the city of Rochester on June 5th and 6th at the Hyatt Regency Rochester. As part of Grand Master M.W. Darren M. Morton, EDD's vision to expand the organization's community footprint, the annual session will include two major public events designed to uplift youth, empower families, and strengthen civic engagement across the region. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge will launch its Prince Hall Positive Male Role Model Initiative on Thursday, June 4th, from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Danforth Community Center grounds to provide young people ages 9 to 18 with meaningful exposure to positive male leadership, life skills development, and career exploration. The event is being held in partnership with Eureka Lodge number 36, Black Men Achieve of Greater Rochester, and the Brothers of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of New York. During the session on June 5th, the Masons will host 3 lunchtime workshops and 3 evening workshops for the community and their members on a variety of topics. Additional information and registration are available on the website https://eurekalodge36.org/grand-session. An appendant body of the Grand Lodge, Eureka Grand Chapter, Prince Hall Order of Eastern Star, Inc., Star of New York, State of New York, will also hold its annual meeting at the Hyatt Regency Rochester on June 1st and 2nd, led by Grand Worthy Matron Marcia L. Mack and Grand Worthy Patron Grant M. Valentine of the Eastern Stars. And continuing in Rochester, summer recreation lineup featuring aquatics, camp, activities for all ages. Mayor Malik D. Evans has announced a robust lineup of summer recreation activities that will help Rochester residents and families stay active while school is out. From free open recreation to structured camps and programs, the fun-filled season runs from Monday, June 29th through Friday, August 21st. All programs, details, and registration links are now available at www.cityofrochester.gov/recreation. And Rochester's East High School honors student athletes. Last Monday, the varsity baseball team hosted a recognition ceremony for 5 standout members of the varsity baseball team. This event celebrated a unique group of seniors who have achieved distinction both on the diamond and in the classroom. While typical signing days focus solely on sports, this ceremony highlighted the total collegiate commitment. This year's honorees include the class of 2026 valedictorian, salutatorian, and other top-ranked scholars and multi-sport collegiate recruits. Kyle Markham, valedictorian, committing to Mount St. Mary's, Division I, where he will study data science and play baseball. Kyle is the first RCSD student to commit to play baseball at a Division I program since 2016. Mitchell Nieves, salutatorian, committing to Genesee Community College, where he will study engineering and play baseball. Justice Robinson, third in class, committing to Gordon College Division III to study finance and play baseball. Eric Jones, committing to West Virginia Wesleyan University to study exercise science and play both football and baseball. Carlos Gaston, sixth in his class, committing to RIT to study computer science and cyber security. Carlos has been a coach for the Liquid Prime travel baseball program and plans to continue coaching. Players, their families, coaches, and East High School staff held a brief ceremony on Monday to celebrate these accomplishments. And Rochester gun violence hits an 8-year low. Mayor Evans announced last week that gun violence in Rochester has fallen to its lowest level in more than 8 years. According to the Rochester Police Department's rolling 365-day shooting total, which counts the number of shootings that took place during the one-year period that ends each day, Rochester had 150 shootings over the 365-day period that ended May 10th. That is the lowest number since December 14, 2018, and a 95% decline from the peak reached in 2021 and 2022. Evans credited the decline to the spirit of collaboration shared among area law enforcement agencies at the local, state, and federal levels, partnerships with other government agencies, and strategy employed by every city department. Turning now to the Faith and Family column, East Presbyterian Church lecture series featuring Dr. Barbara Nevergold. Join the Buffalo History Museum at the Waterway of Change exhibit located in the Long Shed Building at Canalside for our June 10th lecture series featuring Dr. Barbara Nevergold from 6 to 8 p.m. The East Presbyterian Colored Church was founded in 1850. This presentation will offer a portrait of the church, its founding members, its significance during its decade of existence, and its relationship to the Vine Street AME Church and St. Philip's Episcopal Church. Dr. Nevergold is the co-founder of the Uncrowned Queens Institute for Research and Education on Women, Inc. She researches and documents the history of Western New York African Americans. This is a free event, but we ask that you please pre-register at https://shop.byy.ok/18dknllc/experiences/HX4M2X5J. Monarch of Infinite Possibilities curates tree planting launch for pastors. On Friday, May the 1st, history was made at M&T Bank on the executive 19th floor, where several pastors, environmentalists, and M&T Bank executives joined Faustinia L. Morrow, principal and founder of the Monarch of Infinite Possibilities, LLC, as she launched the Mothers of the Church, Nurturing Nature. The goal of this initiative is to encourage churches in the community to plant trees on their church property as part of a $5.2 million grant Erie County Environment and Planning Department received to restore trees in Erie County. Faustinia originally came up with the idea to engage pastors and the church mothers as a way to honor elders and the wisdom they carry, like their own grandmother, Jo Willie Martin, originally from Little Rock, Arkansas. She passed away last year at the age of 96, and Granny loved nature, plants, flowers, and trees. When Mama Gail Wells gave Granny a Buffalo Freedom Garden, my Granny was so happy. The community partners on this grant include Buffalo Freedom Gardens, Deidre M.L., Erie County Parks Department, Forrester Will Brown, Cornell Cooperative Extension, Sharon Bachman, and others, all coordinated by the Environment and Planning Department at Erie County. Special thank you to Deputy County Executive Lisa Chimera, M&T Sustainability Director Siobhan Cousins, Reverend Dr. James A. Lewis III, and Rashida Doel, who helped make this event a huge success. For information about getting your church involved, reach out to Faustinia L. Morrow at the Monarch of IP@gmail.com. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the May 21st, 2026 issue of the Challenger Community News. We read from the Challenger Community News every Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Your reader has been Willard Evans.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Elizabeth Ortel, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the Wednesday, May 27th issue of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first article I'd like to read for you is from the front page. Brothers in Arms. Hockey Brothers focused on making a difference as ROTC commissioned U.S. Army officers, by Mike Patinella for the Daily News. The Army is lucky to have them. Tracy Hockey speaks those words as the proud mother of 3 close-knit sons who are at different stages